All right, so let me tell you guys about the sign industry. It works on deadlines all the time. Everybody wants their sign up before their building opens. Everybody needs that done right now. So there's all these timelines and deadlines that we have to reach. Well, we just found out that SunTrax is expecting that entry sign, that big massive 25-foot entry sign, installed this month. Not next month, not the month after, we're talking this month. So we have a couple of weeks to make this thing happen, and I'm walking out here to find out if the guys are anywhere close to being done with this project, and it's really kind of freaking us out because sometimes you have a little bit of wiggle room with your deadlines, but not on this SunTrax project. We got to be there by the end of the month. We got a bunch of other clients and they have deadlines too. I mean, we have multiple Jeremiah's Italian Ice locations waiting to open. We got a couple Planet Smoothies down here waiting to open. You know, just all these projects going through the shop. Matter of fact, we've got some ABC Fine Wine and Spirits, our biggest client. They have multiple locations going on. I can't make them wait. And then maybe you'll recognize this big giant A. This is old Amazon sign that goes on a 1 million square foot distribution facility in Idaho that needs to be there right now. So we got to get all this stuff through the shop. We got to get this SunTrax project out in 2 weeks, plus all this other stuff. And meanwhile, Rick is over in Scotland right now wearing a kilt drinking whiskey. I guess this week I'm the show and the go. All right, so we're over here, Steve, in the letter fabrication department. What's going on with the SunTrax letters?
Well, the progress we have so far is Chad's finishing up 1 or 2 of the very last letters.
Okay.
I still have the X to complete. I haven't even started on the last X.
So all we got is SunTrax.
Currently.
Right.
Yeah, we're still missing the X.
All right. Okay. So you got these guys over here that are not painted yet, but you got some of these that are painted already. So where are you at on this stage?
Most of the letters are out of paint. I think I have 1 or 2 yet that are not painted.
Okay.
And we've started on this particular letter, putting the P3s, which is what we're using on the entire rest of the sign as well. Nice, nice. Okay, so all the LEDs are Hanley P3s, matching all the colors, all the intensities, all going to be the same. Okay, so we got a lot of letters painted. We're looking really good on the letters. We obviously still have the structure, the base, and there's a whole bunch of other pieces to go, but letters are looking pretty good. You still got the X's to build. Now that you're at this stage, what was the hardest part of building these letters? The hardest part for these letters, after I built the letter, already knowing that I had to cut a hole in it, prior to building it, I couldn't figure out where I was cutting it. I had to completely build the letter, top, bottom, welded, everything.
Like all the way out here?
Yeah, everything was complete. The entire letter was 20 inches deep.
Yeah.
And then I had to come back and cut this portion out so it'll sit on top of the cabinet that it goes on.
Then why do we have to cut that out?
This sits on top of the cabinet, and the letter is in the size to show that it's hanging off the edge and down below the center line.
Oh, right. Yeah, so the S and I think maybe the X, something like that, it goes past the baseline, so you had to cut this out so it has that nice, solid, strong base for it to sit on.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right, so then after we get these done, you still got the LEDs to put in, we got the faces, the retainers, everything to put on, but once that letter is built, what's your next step?
Our next step after that would be we have to mount these letters to the top of that cabinet.
Base.
Yeah, and it goes on top of that big base chunk. So we're going to end up having to mount this dry once or twice to try to get it exactly the way it is.
Gotcha.
Take it back apart and then paint the cabinet that it sits on.
Nice. And the idea would be that we get all those letters done, the base is painted, everything's good to go, all the LEDs, all the wiring is in it, and we bolt those letters right down to that base, both sets. And we carry that entire structure out to the job site and slide it down those poles in as few pieces as we possibly can. So we don't want to go out there and put the base on and then mount the S, mount the N, mount the... Why? When we're out in the heat and in Florida, out in the weather, we want to be in here, mounting that thing here, do as much work as we can in the shop, so when we go out in the field, it's a much easier install. We love doing that.
Yeah.
Cool? All right. So that's a good progress. Let's go see what Robert's doing with the structure. Okay, so we got done with those big letters. Not really big letters compared to this cage over here. So we're over at Robert's station right now. This is the structure that the fins mount to and begins that giant 25-foot arch. Robert, Isn't this what we just saw like 2 days ago? It was laid out on the paper with nothing, just a pattern?
Yeah, 2 days ago I got the pattern.
Two days ago. So talk about accelerated schedule. How the hell did you build this in 2 days?
Just rolled out the pattern, looked at the paperwork, make sure that everything is the same from the, you know, what the plans say is what the pattern is saying, kind of reverse engineer the entire thing, and then, you know, build it in your head, and then you just got to build it with your hands.
So you're looking at the final result of what you want this sign to be, look like, and where it needs to be, and then you kind of go backwards, work backwards to get to that stage.
Yep. Right? Step backwards, what needs to happen first, second, third, that way you don't put something that's going to be in your way or overweld something and then you warp the ever-loving daylights out of it and then you're screwed. You have to start over.
Yeah, yeah. You know? And that happens all the time. We have meetings with Robert and Steve in the office there, and we're talking about something totally different, and they start going off on a tangent about, oh, if we do this and we put this bolt here and we do, and they have this whole conversation between them as fabricators working just like that, backwards, you know, and I don't know exactly what they're saying, but it all works, obviously. You did say something just a minute ago I want you to explain a little bit, is you said kerf cutting on this radius. Can you explain what's kerf cutting?
Yeah, instead of trying to put this piece of angle in the roller, we can roll angle, it just doesn't roll true like a tube. You know, it kind of starts to corkscrew and crush in on you. So we just cut it, depending on the radius, depends on how close the cuts are. We cut it, bend it, tack it on the inside, and then weld all those curves cut.
Okay, so you're cutting these slices in here, and that's what's allowing that tube to bend at the radius that you want it.
Right.
Nice, nice. Okay, all right, so after you're done with this, what's your next step? So we got fins that you need to get.
We got fins that go on this in the front, and we also have skins that go on this. This piece kind of sets over the bottom cabinet that Steve's letters are going to mount on, and then the Panaflex face obviously is over that. But before we start throwing skins and fins and all that stuff, I want to dry fit everything. The base, you know, the base isn't skin, this isn't skin. Dry fit everything, make sure that we have our tolerances and everything's going to line up.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. And then after you're done with this section, we still got to do the rest of the arch on that side that's behind the SunTrax letters, and that part has to light up.
Yeah.
So we haven't even touched that part of it.
Yeah, and that's a double step because it's an aluminum frame inside that then the sign comp attaches to, and all that has to also get curve cut and welded in. Which
we haven't even started yet. So what you're saying is everything we just showed you guys is the easy part.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Yeah, pretty much.
Great work, Robert. Appreciate it. Let's go over and see what the paint department's doing. All right, we're going over into the paint department here. Another stack of Amazon letters almost ready to go out the door. Ooh, look at this. That's a nice sign right here. Purple and green giant SunTrax letters. I love to see them in paint. That means they're almost done. All right, here we are up into the paint department now, the almost final stage before the assembly. So, Renee, tell me what's going on. Give me an update on what you've got painted. I know they're still working on a bunch of product, but what do you have so far?
So far, the fabricators are able to get us most of the letters. We have the 2 S's done, the 2 N's, 1 of the A's, the 2 T's, and both R's.
Thank you, Vanna White. You need to be like this, man. All right, there you go. All right, so looking at these letters. Now, we just came from fabrication. They come over here, and now they're beautiful. They're nice, smooth, satin purple color. Everybody kind of thinks that these letters just happen like that, but there's a lot of work that goes into them. Spraying the color and the clear coat on these letters is the very last stage. Preparation is the key to a good product. So what kind of work goes into this?
We get the letters, we have to sand them down, we have to do body work on it, we have to put bondo on the seams and bondo, and we also have to grind down the weld marks and get them all nice and flat.
Right, right.
Nice and smooth looking.
There's definitely some body work that goes into these things, just like on a car, you know, to make these things nice and smooth. Sometimes it's easier, you know, sometimes we got a lot of work to do to them, but once that's all done and you got your bondo or your little body work spots, you take them in the booth and you spray what on them first?
When we go in the booth, we wipe them down with tack cloth it, and we put epoxy primer on it.
Epoxy primer goes down first, right?
Yes.
So that's your layer between your paint and your aluminum. All right, so that epoxy primer goes on there, make sure the paint sticks really good to those letters, and then the Matthews urethane system, that's the sign paint we use. It's very similar to the finish on your automobile. So it's a catalyzed two-part paint, really super strong, really durable, UV protection and whatnot. And it's got this really nice satin sheen on there. It's not a high gloss or a matte, it's just kind of like a nice little sheen to it. You guys got these painted. Now it's time when all of these letters, we have to be really super careful with them, because at this point, if somebody scratches that letter, it's not like we can come back in and blend a little scratch away. We pretty much have to possibly have to paint a whole letter over again. So it's really critical that we keep everything clean once it's been painted, keep it nice and safe.
Yes.
Put everything down on little cushion pads and whatnot. Make sure we don't damage the final product, because at this stage, it's ready for assembly.
Yeah.
You know, once we assemble it, then we take it out in the field. Boom, done.
Ready to go.
All right, now, letters are almost done, but they've got some big stuff coming to you. So they got those big giant fins, they got the big archway, and the base. We got to get on the base. So that's going to be next.
So is that going to fit in the booth, or are we going to need a bigger booth?
I never even thought about that. No, don't tell me.
I just thought about that. Like,
I'm whoop Steve's ass.
Build it in two pieces, in two parts.
It's 11 feet tall, man. 11-foot booth. Oh, we'll put that thing in on its side. It'll be all right.
It happens all the time.
it's his problem. He's the
Oh,
painter.
that is your problem. Fabrication, just push that off to the paint department.
It's always our problem.
Always building it too big.
What size is it?
I don't know. It's 12.5 feet tall overall, but I think that's the fin and everything. So
The fin's taller than that.
It's gonna be fine.
The fin is 11'10".
well, we'll put the fin down, right?
The fin we
Lengthwise.
can lay down, right?
Yeah, nah, it's gonna be too tall.
Yeah.
And we're only painting one side, right? Because
Yeah.
the side that goes against the silver.
Force and lubrication, anything.
We'll be
fits.
fine.
I can't believe they didn't think about that. Good thing I was around. I'm not just a pretty face.
Oh, Lord. Now you guys are starting to get a real feel for how big this thing is going to be when it's in the field. And this is still, only half of the sign. This thing's freaking giant. We're definitely making great progress, but there's still so much more to do. So we got to be on point and really push it. 2 weeks, but we're going to make it happen. That thing better fit in the booth.